Somewhere along the way, we started treating kindness like a weakness. Be too kind and you'll get walked over. Nice people finish last. Look after yourself first. And so a lot of good people quietly harden just to feel safe. But the Stoics saw it the other way around entirely. To them, how you treat people wasn't softness at all. It was the truest measure of your strength, and the heart of a whole virtue they called justice. By the end of this, you'll see why the Stoics counted kindness as a strength and not a flaw, the beautiful image one of them used to explain it, and a small way to practice it this week, without ever becoming a doormat. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to Emberhollow. I'm Heidi, and my feathered friend here is Jesper. Tonight, we will explore the third of the 4 Stoic virtues, justice, which, to the Stoics, meant something far warmer than courtrooms. It meant simply how we treat each other. Let me tell you about a small kindness I've never forgotten. Years ago, on a day when everything already felt like too much, I came up a few dollars short at the supermarket checkout, flustered, apologizing, and starting to put things back. And then the stranger behind me just quietly covered it. No fuss, no lecture. She only smiled and said, "We've all had that day." I never saw her again. It cost her almost nothing, and it changed the whole shape of that day more than she could ever have known. That's the strange power of this virtue. Sometimes the smallest acts leave the largest impressions. Maybe you felt the pull to harden up too. You were generous and it wasn't returned. You were patient and someone mistook it for permission. And somewhere in there a quiet voice started saying, "Stop being so soft." I understand that voice. But here is what it gets wrong. The problem was never your kindness. It was kindness without a spine. And those are 2 completely different things. And the hardening works for a while. You feel safer behind it. But you also feel a little less like yourself, a little more tired, a little more alone. The armour that keeps the hurt out keeps the warmth in too. Real Stoic kindness was never about being a pushover. The Stoics were some of the toughest people in history, exiles, soldiers, an emperor. For them, treating people well wasn't weakness leaking out. It was strength, aimed on purpose. Anyone can be kind when it's easy and returned. To stay kind when it's hard, when nobody is watching, when it actually costs you something, that takes more strength than cruelty ever has. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this most mornings. "We were made for one another," he wrote, "like hands, like eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth. To work against each other is to work against our own nature." To a Stoic, kindness wasn't a nicety you added on top. It was simply us, working the way we are built. There's a Stoic named Hierocles who drew the most beautiful picture of this. Imagine a set of rings, one inside the other, all centered on you. The smallest ring is your own mind. The next is the people you love most. Then wider rings, your extended family, your neighbors, the people in your town, your whole country, and at last, the widest ring of all, every other human being. We naturally care most about the inner rings and barely think about the outer ones. And Hierocles said the entire work of a good life is this: to draw the outer rings inward, to treat the people further out a little more like the people close in, the stranger a touch more like a neighbor, the neighbor a little more like family. You don't have to love the whole world at once. You just pull one ring gently closer. And it's smaller than it sounds. The delivery driver you actually look in the eye and thank by name, the new person at work you save a seat for, the relative you stop bracing against and simply ask, "How are you really?" None of it is grand. All of it is an outer ring, pulled an inch closer. And there's a quiet test hidden in all this, one that tells you who a person really is. You learn almost nothing from how someone treats the people who matter to them. Anyone is warm to the boss, the client, the person they want something from. You learn everything from how they treat the people who can do nothing for them. The tired waiter, the voice on the helpline, the person who already told them no. The Stoics would say that isn't where your character is tested, it's where it's revealed. Watch yourself in traffic, in a long queue, in the comments under a stranger's post. That unguarded version, the one that thinks no one who matters is looking, that's the real you the Stoics cared about. So it's worth meeting those people gently too. Now here's where people get nervous. If I draw everyone closer, won't I just get used? Here's the line, and it matters. Justice is fairness to others and to yourself. Letting someone treat you badly isn't kindness. It's just fear wearing a nicer coat. And this is where the virtues we've already talked about come in. Wisdom helps you tell the difference between someone who needs grace and someone taking advantage. Courage lets you hold the boundary while staying warm. Real kindness has a spine. You can be gentle and unmoved at the very same time. And honestly, that combination is the whole point. Think of the kindest person you genuinely respect. I'd bet they're not a pushover at all. They're warm, and they are very hard to fool. They give freely, and they will not be used. That is the whole of it. Real kindness and a backbone living in the same person. In Emberhollow, this is the gift of the silver meadows, where the unicorns teach that gentleness was never the opposite of strength. The softest creatures in the realm are also the ones nothing can corrupt. Gentle and unbreakable. That is the whole aim. So here's this week's practice, and it's small and lovely. Pick one person from an outer ring, someone you barely notice, or someone you've quietly written off. A neighbor, a stranger, a difficult relative. And this week, treat them one ring closer than usual. One real question, and actually listen to the answer. One small, unasked for kindness. One assumption you quietly let go of. You're not trying to fix the world. You're just pulling a single ring inward and noticing what it does to you, every bit as much as to them. So that's the virtue the world keeps calling weak. The Stoics knew better. Kindness isn't the soft option. It's strength with somewhere good to go. At the end of a life, nobody measures the cruelty they got away with. They measure the people they were gentle with. So draw the rings in. Treat the far ones a little more like the near ones. That is justice. And it was never weakness. It was the steadiest, bravest kind of strength there is. Next time by the fire, the last of the 4 virtues, temperance, the quiet art of enough. I'd love to know, who's one person in an outer ring you could pull a little closer this week? Name them, or just the act, in the comments. Let's fill the comment section with massive kindness. If you want a gentle place to grow this kind of steadiness, my free guide. The Seeker's Morning Pages gives you a week of Stoic reflection, one small prompt a day. No pressure, no performance. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. And if this is the kind of strength you've been looking for, warm, steady, kind, then you belong here with us. Subscribe and walk with us twice a week as we finish the 4 virtues together. You don't have to harden to be strong. You just have to stay kind on purpose. And if part of you struggles to be kind because it feels too risky, too exposed, the virtue just before this one is the answer. It's about quiet courage, and it's waiting on your screen right now. Until then, seekers, walk gently, be kind, and remember, you are already enough. The best self you seek is already inside you.